Hi guys, it's Megan again. I know I promised to make this tutorial about a year ago, so it's been a while. I just want to say that I am very sorry it's taken me this long. Last summer was pretty hectic with COVID and all, and even the school year was crazy, so I'm finally gotten back into editing the video again, even though I videotaped it last summer. And I'm still very new to all this, so there are going to be a lot of errors, so please just humor me. There will be a lot of background sounds and poor audio in some places. This tutorial is also going to be very long. It took me about a day to make the Elmo bracelet without even filming it. So now that I'm taking the time to go through all the steps, it's going to take a lot longer. So I'm going to try and split this tutorial into videos that are around 30 minutes long, maybe 25 to 30 minutes. And I don't know how many videos I'm going to make, but I'm going to do it until I reach the end. So hope you guys enjoy, and we'll get right into it. Alright, so now we are ready to start our alpha pattern. First things first, you're going to want to click the link in the description below, and what you will first see are the numbers. So these numbers are very important. There will be the dimensions, the strings, and the colors that you need. So the dimensions, which for this pattern is 12 by 56, tells you how many bass strings you need and how many knots are going to be on each string. So the 12 tells you that you need 12 bass strings from this pattern, and on each bass string there are going to be 56 knots. The strings, the number is 13, that means you'll need 12 bass strings plus the string that you're going to be knotting onto this bass strings. And then the colors. For this pattern, you can use any colors you want, but I'm going to be following colors that are very similar to the ones that are shown on the pattern. So there's black, white, red, orange, like a dark orange kind of color, a light orange, and a yellow. So these are the colors that I'm going to be using. You can also look at the variations that are put on top of the original pattern, and you can look through those and see which colors you like, which colors you don't like. It's all up to you. So after you've picked all the colors you've wanted, you're going to want to pick out the color that you want your bass strings to be. So because you're going to be knotting other strings over the bass strings, you're not going to see them except for like at the end of the pattern. So for me, I usually use the same color bass strings as the background for the pattern. I find that the most easiest thing to do, but you can use whatever color you want. So this pattern is about 9.5 centimeters in length from right here to right here. That does not include the ends of like the bass strings. So basically you're going to want to cut 12 pieces of string. For me, I'm going to use black, that are just a bit longer than 9.5 centimeters. I might make each one about 30 centimeters, so it gives me room to make those knots. It's going to be easier, and yeah. So when you cut the bass strings, I would recommend using any, leftover string that isn't, new, so that way, you can get rid of this as quickly as possible. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be making the bass string right now. So I'm going to take just a little bit of string like that. I won't, cut it too tightly. I just want a rough estimate. So I want to make mine around, bass string around 30 centimeters. This is a lot of string, considering that the original pattern is only about 9 to 10 centimeters. So this is one of my bass strings, and I'm going to make 11 more of these. So after cutting the first string, I compared the new strings to the older strings, so that way the length of each one would be more similar rather than if I were to measure each one out with the ruler. Okay, so the amount of bass strings you have is extremely important. Like, it is probably the most important thing in order to make a successful alpha pattern. So what I usually do is split my bass strings in half. So there will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And basically that's how I know that I have the exact amount of bass strings that I need for this bracelet. I cannot stress how important it is to have the correct amount of bass strings, because if you have one extra or one less, then that's a whole row out of your entire pattern that you're missing. So make sure that you have the exact amount of bass strings that you need. Now what you want to do after you have all your bass strings is set them up so that you can start the pattern. So basically what I'm going to do is make sure that all these start at the same length, and then I'll tape them on here. Here I'm going to position the strings so that they're even at the top, and then place a piece of tape 3.5 inches from the start of the strings. Okay, so now it's time to begin the bracelet, keychain thing, whatever you want to call it. So I just found this, this piece of string, and I'll be using this for the background color. It's black. And basically what you want to do first for the background is you're going to want to take the piece of string that you want to use, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tape it down, because I find this, the easiest thing to do. And then to begin your first knot, you're going to look at the pattern. The first knot is a forwards knot, so we're going to make a forwards knot. How you do that is you make a number 4 with the strings, and you take the top string and you wind it around the other string, like that, so it's wrapped around, and then you pull it up to the very top, and then you're going to make another 4 and wind the string around. There you go, that's the first knot. And then basically what you're going to do is just do a bunch of forward knots until you reach the 9th string. There's a different knot that you can do on the 10th one, and I'll go over that once I reach it. Okay, so once you've reached the end, you've knotted all the knots on all the bass strings except for the last one, and they're all forward knots. There are 2 ways that you can complete the ends. So you can either follow the pattern perfectly and do a forwards knot, or you can do a forwards backwards knot. The difference is that if you just do forwards knots and backwards knots and nothing else, it'll make the ends seem kind of like curvy. I don't have like an example to show you guys, sorry about that, because I haven't made one with like curvy lines, but in my last Elmo one you can kind of see that the lines right here, they're somewhat straight. And that's because I used forwards backwards knots, so they don't look as loopy, I guess you could say. So that's what I'm going to be doing. So to do a forwards backwards knot, you would make a 4 with the strings, put the top string underneath and through the hole. When you're doing this, you want to be very light in the beginning, and then you're going to make a backwards 4. Put the top string underneath the bass string and through the hole, and then you're going to pull it. And the reason you want to be gentle is so that you don't accidentally like pull a string out from underneath the tape or whatever you're using, and then that way it kind of keeps the strings straight. It doesn't look all wonky. Right. So after that, you're gonna go on to the next line. So on the pattern, the first row should have like a 1 right next to it, and the next row should have a 2. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna go down to the 2 to the knot on the very right, and you're gonna complete it from right to left. So after you made that first knot, you're gonna make another backwards knot. So make the 4, and then a backwards 4, and that way it sets you up for the next row where you're just going to be doing backwards knots. When you're doing these kinds of patterns, these alpha patterns, you want to be very careful with how you position the strings, because if you accidentally mess up, like if you mix them around, it's going to ruin the whole bracelet or keychain thing. Alright, so after you made that backwards knot, you're going to follow the next line of the pattern, and you're just going to be doing backwards knots until you reach the last bass string right here, and for that you're going to be doing a different knot. And just to clarify, a backwards knot is the exact opposite of a forwards knot. You just have to make 2 backwards 4s. Okay, so once you've reached the end, once again, we're going to be doing a different knot this time. So, as we've been doing backwards knots for the whole row, or most of the whole row, you're going to make another backwards 4. This is going to be a backwards forwards knot. So you're going to make another backwards 4, pull that, and then you're going to make a 4, and there's your backwards forwards knot. Now we're going to go into the next line and do that again. So a backwards 4 and a regular 4. Now you can continue on with the rest of your strings, and because the pattern has, like, I think it's 6 rows of just black or your background color, I'm just going to do that in a hyperlapse. But all you're going to be doing is exactly what I told you. You're going to do either forwards or backwards knots on the strings depending on how what the pattern tells you, and then on the ends you're going to continue doing whatever that pattern tells you to do. So if it's a bunch of forward knots, you're going to do 1, 4, and then you're going to switch it up. So you're going to do a backwards 4, and then you're going to do that knot twice. So in case that didn't make sense, if you're doing a row with all forward knots, you want to end that row with a forward backwards knot, and then go down the same bass string to the next row and make the same knot, a forward backwards knot, and then continue along the row with backward knots until you reach the final bass string, where you'll do a backward forwards knot, and then continue down that bass string onto the next row with a backward forwards knot. So I have just finished my 6 rows of black, and what we're going to do now is we're going to go on to the next line, line 7, and if you look on the pattern, you can see that on the 6, 7, 8th string, we need to add in like a light orange or a different color if you want to add in a different color. So I'll just go ahead to the 7th knot, and then I'll stop it when it's time to add in the orange. So once you have finished knotting 7 knots onto the 7th, it's a row, 7th row, yeah. You're going to take the color that shows up as orange for me, and we're going to be adding this in. So I'm going to take a piece of tape, I'm going to tape it right next to the black, and what you're going to do is you're going to take your new color, put it underneath all the strings that you've already knotted, I guess. And then you're going to take that 7th string that you're going to put the new color around. You're going to make a forwards knot, like the pattern says. But before you make the second thing, you're going to take the black string, or your background string, and you're going to just lay it right across the new string. So I don't know if you can see that, but it's right on top of the orange string for me. And then you're going to continue on with your knot. Make sure that if we were to continue with the orange string, we could just put the black string underneath, and that would hide it from on top from the top of the alpha. But since we're going to go back to our background color, we're going to do the exact same thing that we did with the orange string. We're going to make a forwards knot. So here's my forwards knot. And then we're going to put the orange string over the black sideways. And then we're going to continue our forwards knot. And what I usually do is I hold on to both strings to try and make it as tight as possible. And then you're going to pull, and there you go. Now you put the new string underneath the base strings, and then you can continue on with your pattern. So I'm just going to finish the row. So you do a forwards knot, take the next string, forwards knot, the next string you're gonna do a forwards knot, forwards backwards knot, forwards backwards knot again on the same string. Go on to the next string over. We are on the 8th row, and this time we're just going to do a backwards knot. And now, excuse me, and now we have our new color again. What we're going to do is we're going to take the new color, put it underneath the strings that were just knotted on. We're going to take the next string, this is a 3rd string from the right, and we're going to make a backwards 4. Whoop. There you go. A backwards 4 around this string. Pull it, take the background color, put it over the new color, and then continue your backwards knot. Pull. And then you're going to take the background color and put it underneath the base strings that have not been knotted on yet. Now you're going to continue with your new color for 4 more knots. So you're going to take the new color, for me it's orange, do a backwards 4, another backwards 4, there's 1 backwards knot. Take the next string, backwards 4, another backwards 4. That's your second backwards knot. Backwards 4. That's your 4th one in total. And then finally you're going to do one last one. So backwards 4 and backwards 4. And that's it for the new string on this row. You're going to take your background color again, put it underneath all the strings that haven't been knotted onto yet. And then you're going to make a backwards knot. Try to like push it up as close as possible to the other knots up here. And take your new color, bring it to the side, continue your knot. Pull carefully. And now you can continue on until you reach I think it's the 6th knot on row 9. So I'm gonna stop the video here and go on to hyperlapse. So once you have continued knotting until the 5th bass string, you're going to take that orange string back, and this area might get a little bit tricky because we're going to be adding in another color in just a few seconds. You're going to make a forwards knot, put the black string across, continue, forwards knot, pull gently, one more orange forwards knot so that there's 2 in total. And now we're going to be bringing in a red. So I have 3 right here. Just they're all the same color, so I'll just pick one. Let's use this one. Right, I'm going to tape the end right next to the orange and the black, and this will be the beginning of Elmo's hand, I believe, or his arm, one or the other. What you're gonna do is you're gonna take the red, put it underneath the strings that have already been knotted onto. I'm gonna take the next string, do a forwards knot, take the orange or whatever color you're using as a substitute, put it across and continue your forwards knot with the newest color. And now you're going to switch back to the other color. There's one forwards knot. Take the newest added, the color that we added to, yeah. Make another forwards knot. There you go, that's the first part of Elmo. And then you're going to continue on until you reach the last bass string with the orange or whatever color you're using for the fire. There's one knot, and then the last orange knot. Now what we're going to do is we're gonna go take the background color. So what I usually do is you can see my colors, they're laid out like this. I need the black, right? So I'm gonna take the black and I'm gonna put it underneath the red. It's just easier to do it this way. So that way that when you look underneath, it's not as like all weird, I guess. Okay, so here's the tricky part. What you're gonna do is you're gonna take the color that we just used, since this is, you know, at the end, and you're just gonna put it underneath and to the side. Then you're gonna continue with your knots. That way, that keeps the orange string from popping out at the top of the alpha bracelet. Right. Now we're going to take the orange back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this black underneath all the strings that haven't been knotted yet, excluding the rightmost bass string. And I'm going to make a forwards knot. And then a backwards knot. Starting row 10. That's what it should look like. Congratulations, you made it through the first video. I just want to say thank you for watching. I'll try and get the next video out as soon as possible. Also, thank you for being patient with all the background noise and the changes in volume in my audio. I had to like record some stuff after the video, after I like videotaped everything, and I couldn't find out a way to control the volume, but anyway, I'll try and get the next video out soon, but until then, I'll see you guys later.